Chapter 29. Michael Corleone and Peter Clemenza were transported to the Palermo jail after their arrest. From there, they were taken to Inspector Velardi's office to be interrogated. Velardi had 6 carabinieri officers, fully armed, with him. He greeted Michael and Clemenza with a cold courtesy and spoke to Clemenza first. "You are an American citizen," he said. "You have a passport that says you have come here to pay your brother a visit, Don Dominic Clemenza of Trapani. A very respectable man, they tell me. A man of respect." He said the traditional phrase with obvious sarcasm. "We find you with this Michael Corleone, and you are armed with lethal weapons in the town where Turi Giuliano has met his death just a few hours before. Would you care to make a statement?" Clemenza said, "I was out hunting. We were looking for rabbits and foxes. Then we saw all the commotion in Castelvetrano when we stopped at a cafe for our morning coffee. So we went to see what happened." "In America, do you shoot rabbits with a pistol?" Inspector Velardi asked. He turned to Michael Corleone. "We have met before, you and I. We know what you are here for. And your fat friend knows too. But things have changed since we had that charming lunch with Don Croce a few days ago. Giuliano is dead. You are an accomplice in a criminal conspiracy to effect his escape. I am no longer required to treat scum like you as if you were human. Confessions are being prepared which I recommend you sign." At this moment a carabinieri officer came into the room and whispered into Inspector Velardi's ear. Velardi said curtly, "Let him enter." It was Don Croce, no better dressed than Michael remembered him from that famous lunch. His mahogany face was just as impassive. He waddled over to Michael and embraced him. He shook hands with Peter Clemenza. Then he turned and, still standing, stared Inspector Velardi full in the face without saying a word. A brute force emanated from that hulk of a man. Power radiated from his face and eyes. "These two are my friends," he said. "What possible reason do you have to treat them with disrespect?" There was no anger in that voice, no emotion. It seemed merely to be a question demanding an answer with facts. It was also a voice that stated that there was no fact that could justify their arrest. Inspector Velardi shrugged. "They will appear before the magistrate and he will settle the matter." Don Croce sat down in one of the armchairs next to Inspector Velardi's desk. He mopped his brow. He said in a quiet voice, which again seemed to hold no threat, "Out of respect for our friendship, call Minister Trezza and ask his opinion on this matter. You will render me a service." Inspector Velardi shook his head. The blue eyes were no longer cold, but blazing with hatred. "We were never friends," he said. "I acted under orders which are no longer binding now that Giuliano is dead. These 2 men will go before the magistrate. If it were within my power, you would appear with them." At that moment the phone on Inspector Velardi's desk rang. He ignored it, waiting for Don Croce's answer. Don Croce said, "Answer your telephone. That will be Minister Trezza." The inspector slowly picked up the phone, his eyes watching Don Croce. He listened for a few minutes, then said, "Yes, yes, Your Excellency," and hung up the phone. He slumped down in his chair and said to Michael and Peter Clemenza, "You are free to go." Don Croce rose to his feet and shepherded Michael and Clemenza out of the room with a shooing motion, as if they were chickens entrapped in a yard. Then he turned to Inspector Velardi. "I have treated you with every courtesy this past year, though you are a foreigner in my Sicily. And yet here, in front of friends and in front of your fellow officers, you have shown disrespect to my person. But I'm not a man to hold a grudge. I hope in the near future we can have dinner together and renew our friendship with a clearer understanding." 5 days later, in broad daylight, Inspector Federico Velardi was shot to death on the main boulevard of Palermo. 2 days later, Michael was home. There was a family feast. His brother Fredro flew in from Vegas. There was Connie and her husband Carlo. There was Clemenza and his wife, Tom Hagen and his wife. They hugged and toasted Michael and commented on how well he looked. Nobody talked about his years of exile. Nobody seemed to notice that the side of his face was caved in. Nobody mentioned Sonny's death. It was a family homecoming party, as if he had been away to college or on a long vacation. He was seated on his father's right. Finally, he was safe. The next morning he slept late, his first truly restful sleep since before he had fled the country. His mother had breakfast waiting and kissed him when he sat down at the table, an unusual sign of affection from her. She had done it only once before, when he had returned from the war. When he finished eating, he went to the library and found his father waiting for him. He was surprised that Tom Hagen was not there also, and then realized that the Don wished to speak to him without any witnesses. Don Corleone ceremoniously poured out 2 glasses of anisette and handed one to Michael. "To our partnership," the Don said. Michael raised his glass. "Thank you," he said. "I have a lot to learn." "Yes," Don Corleone said, "but we have plenty of time, and I'm here to teach you." Michael said, "Don't you think we should clear up the Giuliano business first?" The Don sat down heavily and wiped his mouth of the liquor. "Yes," he said, "a sad business. I was hoping he would escape. His father and mother were my good friends." Michael said, "I never really understood what the hell was happening. I never could get the sides right. You told me to trust Don Croce, but Giuliano hated him. I thought the testament being held by you would keep them from killing Giuliano, but they killed him anyway. And now when we release the testament to all the newspapers, they will have cut their own throats." He saw his father looking at him coolly. "That is Sicily," the Don said. "There is always treachery within treachery." Michael said, "Don Croce and the government must have given Pisciotta a deal." "No doubt," Don Corleone said. Michael was still puzzled. Why did they do it? We have the testament that proves the government was hand in glove with Giuliano. The Italian government will fall when the papers print what we give them. It doesn't make any sense at all. The Don smiled slightly and said, "The testament will remain hidden. We won't give it to them." It took a full minute for Michael to grasp what his father had said and what it meant. Then, for the first time in his life, he was truly angry with his father. His face white, he said, "Does that mean we were working with Don Croce all the time? Does that mean I was betraying Giuliano instead of helping him? That I was lying to his parents? That you betrayed your friends and led their son to his death? That you used me like a fool, a Judas goat? Pop, my God, Giuliano was a good man, a true hero to the poor people of Sicily. We must release the testament." His father let him speak, then rose from his chair and put his hands on Michael's shoulders. "Listen to me," he said. "Everything was prepared for Giuliano's escape. I made no bargain with Don Croce to betray Giuliano. The plane was waiting. Clemenza and his men were instructed to help you in every way. Don Croce did want Giuliano to escape. It was the easiest way. But Giuliano swore a vendetta against him and lingering hoping to fulfill it. He could have come to you within a few days, but he stayed away to make a final try. That is what undid him." Michael walked away from his father and sat in one of the leather armchairs. "There's a reason why you're not making the testament public," he said. "You made a deal." "Yes," Don Corleone said. "You must remember that after you were injured by the bomb, I realized that I and my friends could no longer completely protect you in Sicily. You were exposed to more attempts. I had to be absolutely sure you came home safely. So I made a deal with Don Croce. He protected you, and in return I promised him that I would persuade Giuliano not to publish the testament when he escaped to America." With a sickening shock, Michael recalled that he was the one who had told Pisciotta that the testament was safe in America. In that moment he had sealed Giuliano's fate. Michael sighed. "We owe it to his mother and father," he said. "And to Justina. Is she all right?" "Yes," said the Don. She is taken care of. It will take a few months for her to come to terms with what has happened." He paused for a moment. "She is a very clever girl. She'll do well here." Michael said, "We betray his father and mother if we do not publish the testament." "No," Don Corleone said. "I've learned something over the years here in America. You have to be reasonable. Negotiate. What good would publishing the testament do? Probably the Italian government would fall, but maybe it would not. Minister Trezza would be out of a job. But do you think they would punish him?" Michael said angrily, "He is the representative of a government that conspired to murder its own people." The Don shrugged. "So? But let me go on. Would publishing the testament help Giuliano's mother and father or his friends? The government would go after them, put them in jail, persecute them in many ways. Far worse, Don Croce might put them in his bad books. Let them have peace in their old age. I'll make a deal with the government and Don Croce to protect them. And so my holding the testament will be useful," Michael said sardonically, "and useful to us if we should need it some day in Sicily." "I can't help that," his father said with a twitch of his smile. After a long silence, Michael said quietly, "I don't know, it seems dishonorable. Giuliano was a true hero. He is already a legend. We should help his memory, not let that memory go down in defeat." For the first time the Don showed annoyance. He poured himself another glass of anisette and drank it down. He pointed a finger at his son. "You wanted to learn," he said. "Now listen to me. A man's first duty is to keep himself alive. Then comes what everyone calls honor. This dishonor, as you call it, I willingly take upon myself. I did it to save your life, as you once took on dishonor to save mine. You would never have left Sicily alive without Don Croce's protection. So be it. Do you want to be a hero like Giuliano, a legend, and dead? I love him as the friend of my dear friends, but I do not envy him his fame. You are alive and he is dead. Always remember that, and live your life not to be a hero, but to remain alive. With time, heroes seem a little foolish." Michael sighed. "Giuliano had no choice," he said. "We are more fortunate," the Don said. It was the first lesson Michael received from his father, and the one he learned best. It was to color his future life, persuade him to make terrible decisions he could never have dreamed of making before. It changed his perception of honor and his awe of heroism. It helped him to survive, but it made him unhappy. For despite the fact that his father did not envy Giuliano, Michael did.